Hello, and today we're going to talk about seed propagation. I've got the compost here in front of me that we're going to use. It's a bit different to potting compost, where we're going to use either peat or coir, and then we're going to mix it with a drainage material such as this white one here, which is perlite, or ideally we could have used vermiculite as well. So it's on a ratio of about 50% to 50%, and then we're going to mix it up together, making sure that we sieve through any of the compost. Where you've got any big lumps like this, just to either put them to the side, or if you can break them up, just include them in the compost as well. So the peat or the coir is the moisture retentive part of the compost, and the perlite or vermiculite is the drainage part of the compost. So when you hear about compost being moisture retentive but free draining, that's exactly what they mean. So just make sure that you give it a good mix. There we are. Right, so when that's all mixed up well, choose yourself a sterile container that's nice and clean. If it's not clean, make sure it's clean, give it a dry through, and then you can use it. For seeds and cuttings, I really like using these short pots, or they're technically known as pan pots. Now the pan pots aren't full-size pots, they're shorter in length than normal pots. Normal pots would extend down to about this length, but it would mean that you'd have to fill it with more compost, which means more moisture within the compost area. And there's no roots already in there if it's seeds or cuttings, so therefore it's just a whole load of moisture that would either rot your cuttings off, or it would cause low gaseous exchange within there for the respiration for your seed, or indeed if it was too soggy it could even start to rot your seeds as well. So a nice short pot with a nice open compost. So the compost goes into the seed pot, just slightly above the rim, and then we're going to give it a little tap down. Make sure that you just top it up, and then using your striker board, you're moving the striker board back and forward to give it a good level. I got told this is what builders do to get the concrete level, is to move it back and forward rather than just putting the board straight across, because it does actually tend to take the compost up and you're left with big holes. So back and forward is the correct way to do it. Once you've done that, the compost off to the side, clean off any other bits underneath, and then you can use a presser board. Now a presser board is just a piece of wood that's been cut into the shape of the actual pot itself. And we've got a round one, but you can get square ones and you can get rectangle ones and so on. So place it on top of the pot and then evenly distribute your weight over the top, and just gently press it down to create an even surface in which you're going to sow your seeds. There we are. So we've got a nice even surface on there. Now before you sow your seeds, you should really water your compost first. Now the reason for that is if you just went straight ahead and directly sowed on top of the pot here, and then you went to water it, it would take quite a bit of water for it to soak up. So the seeds, if you put too much water in, could start floating around and mobilise themselves around the top of the pot. And then perhaps if you had a slight incline in the pot, they would all land up at one particular end of the pot, and then they would grow in a cluster together, which could cause a damping off problem. Anyway, so here we are. We're going to water these, and here is one which I've done earlier. So we've got one which is already watered and ready for sowing. So the seed that I've chosen to sow today is Verbena bonariensis. It's a lovely plant. It's actually classed as a short-lived perennial, but very often used as a half-hardy annual in bedding areas. So we've got quite a number of seed in here. It can be a little bit difficult, this one, but typically you would sow this round about sort of mid-March, which it is now. So mid-March is an excellent time. You can start it off earlier if you like. Put a little amount in the palm of your hand, and then between your finger and your thumb, just get a little amount in there, and then over the surface of the compost, sow evenly. If you've got bad eyesight, you could actually mix this with a little bit of silver sand, a little bit of fine sand, so you can see where you're sowing it. Especially fine seed such as Lobelia rhinus, Nicotiana alata, etc., Nicotiana sylvestris, Begonia semperflorens. These are best sown with sand because they're so light and small. Right, so I've got a nice good even distribution over there. There's no clusters. If there were any clusters, just get a pen or your label and flick the seeds around to more evenly distribute them. Don't feel that you've got to put everything that's on your hand in the actual pot itself. Be conservative, put it back in. As I was saying, there are diseases like damping off, that if this germinated and it was too close and they were too close together, the seedlings which has emerged because of the poor circulation, etc., that could cause damping off. So I'm just going to put these away. And then over the top of the seeds here, they're really small. You should just get yourselves a nice little sieve, and either with just vermiculite, just perlite, but I like vermiculite, or a little bit of compost, put it into the sieve, and then just evenly over the top scatter a little bit of compost or vermiculite over the top, just to seal it in. Whatever the size of the seed, put the same amount of compost or vermiculite on the top, so just a little amount. For smaller seeds, such as the begonias and the cotianas that I talked about earlier, you don't cover these at all because they are so small. So just tidy that one up, just give it a little scattering over the top with water, using a fine rose on your washing can. And the last little bit to put in here is your label. Make sure that you've got the date on it, and then it's ready to be put either on the windowsill if you're at home, or if you've got a propagator, even better. A little bit of bottom heat for this to sit in would be fantastic, usually at a temperature in the glasshouse or at home of something like about 18 to 21 degrees centigrade would be fantastic. So good luck with sowing your bedding plants this year. Thank you.